The galaxy had seen wars before. Empires rose and fell. Fleets clashed, planets burned, and still the stars kept shining. But no one in the vast reaches of the Council's dominion had ever dared to do what was now unfolding. A threat not against soldiers, not against governments, but against the families of Earth. It started with a signal. At first, it was dismissed as static, a broken pulse on the outer channels of deep space. Then the words became clear. The voice was not human. It was sharp, layered with static, filled with arrogance. "Humans," it said, "we know your weakness. You value your children. You protect your mates. You build your homes as if they matter in the void. This makes you weak. This makes you prey. We will strike where it hurts most. Defend your soldiers all you like. They mean nothing. We will burn what you love." The signal ended with coordinates, Earth's colonies, spread across the stars. It was not just a declaration of war. It was a promise to make humanity suffer in ways no species had suffered before. Across the fleet, silence spread. Captains looked at their crew. Families looked to the skies. And for the first time in centuries, humans felt something ancient move inside them: rage. The Council had always whispered about humans. "They are strange," the elder species said. "They cling to their kin, they fight for their blood, they carry grief longer than most." Many thought of it as a weakness. But those who studied history knew better. Every time humanity was threatened, every time their families were touched, they did not break. They became something else. On Mars Station 12, Commander Elena Reyes stood before her officers. The transmission replayed in the room, the alien voice echoing like venom in the air. Her crew looked shaken, angry, afraid. Elena's eyes were calm, but her jaw was set like stone. "They think family is our weakness," she said quietly. "They think striking at our homes will break us. They have no idea what they've just woken up." The officers straightened, the fear melting into something harder. Humanity was not the strongest empire in the galaxy. Their fleets were not the largest. Their weapons were not the most advanced. But when the enemy threatened their children, their mothers, their brothers, humanity always found a way to become more dangerous than anyone expected. Reports began arriving within hours. Outlying colonies under attack. Civilian convoys vanished. Settlements reduced to ash. The enemy moved fast, without warning, targeting schools, shelters, family stations. They did not want resources. They wanted to break the human spirit. On the mining world of Vera 9, an alien fleet appeared without warning. Thousands of families lived there, most unarmed, only miners and workers. Panic spread as ships descended, their weapons locking onto the colony. But before the first shot landed, something happened. A human freighter, an old ship, not even built for war, opened fire. Its captain had no fleet, no orders, only his family below on the surface. He rammed his vessel into the lead alien ship, tearing it in half. The explosion lit the sky, giving the colony precious minutes to flee underground. One ship against an armada. One parent against an empire. News of his sacrifice spread like fire through the colonies. And with every story, with every loss, with every innocent taken, something darker grew inside humanity. They did not just want to defend anymore. They wanted vengeance. The aliens had studied humanity's wars, but they had misunderstood something vital. Humans did not fight hardest for power. They did not fight hardest for conquest. They fought hardest when they were defending family. And now, across the stars, every soldier, every worker, every scientist, every parent had become a weapon. On Earth itself, old plans were pulled from vaults. Weapons thought too dangerous, too brutal, too human, were reactivated. Generals spoke in whispers of Project Revenant, of warships that had been locked away because even humanity feared their wrath. If family was threatened, there would be no more restraint. In the council chambers, alien delegates watched the reports with unease. Some were allies, some neutral, but all understood what was happening. One whispered to another, They have awakened the humans' dark side. Another replied, then the war is already lost. For in every fleet, on every outpost, humans repeated the same quiet vow. No one touches our families and survives. The aliens had wanted to see fear. Instead, they had lit the fire of something the galaxy had forgotten. Humanity was not running. Humanity was not begging. Humanity was sharpening its teeth. And as Elena Reyes stood in the command deck, watching the stars where the enemy fleets gathered, she spoke the words that carried across every channel of the fleet. They threatened our families. Now we show them who we really are. The war had begun, and the galaxy would never forget what came next. The first battles were chaos. Humanity had been preparing for wars, but never for this kind of war. These enemies did not want territory. They did not want peace talks. They wanted to shatter the human spirit by destroying what humans loved most. On the colony world of Cressida, the attack came at dawn. Families were still sleeping when the skies turned black with alien warships. Their weapons cut through the air, tearing apart houses and towers. Sirens screamed. People ran into shelters. But there were not enough shelters for everyone. Lieutenant Marcus Hale was off duty, holding his little daughter when the first explosions hit. He had not even put on his uniform when the roof collapsed around them. Dust, fire, and panic filled the air. He carried her through the chaos, dodging falling debris, while the ground shook under alien bombardment. All around him, he saw other families, parents clutching children, lovers pulling each other into safety, old men dragging the young behind cover. But then the alien soldiers landed. Tall, armored, their weapons glowing red. They marched through the burning streets, not looking for soldiers, but for civilians. 4 families. Marcus hid behind the ruins with his daughter. His hands shook with rage. He had fought in wars before, but never like this. This was not battle. This was slaughter. His daughter's eyes were wide with fear, but she whispered, "Daddy, don't let them take me." Something broke inside him. He kissed her forehead, hid her deep inside the rubble, and whispered, "Stay quiet. Daddy will come back." Then he picked up a broken rifle from the ground and charged. 1 man against an army. Later, survivors told the story. How a single human soldier stood in the streets of Cressida, holding nothing but a damaged rifle and burning fury. How he killed 10 of the invaders before they finally brought him down. And how, because of him, dozens of families escaped into the tunnels. His sacrifice became a spark. These sparks spread everywhere. Humanity was being hunted, but humanity did not bow. On every world, parents fought beside soldiers. Scientists turned research stations into fortresses. Farmers welded weapons onto harvest machines. Civilians became warriors because their bloodline was at stake. And slowly, the galaxy began to notice. In the great halls of the Galactic Council, delegates argued. Some were horrified by the alien aggressors' cruelty. Others whispered that maybe humanity deserved it. But then reports arrived of what humans were doing in return. Entire fleets vanished. Not just defeated, erased. Human warships struck from shadows, not with grand armies, but with terrifying precision. Colonies that had been under siege were suddenly freed by small human strike teams that fought like demons. One council elder, old and wise, said only one sentence that chilled the chamber. They thought they were hunting prey. Instead, they woke predators. But the enemy did not stop. In fact, their attacks grew more vicious. It was clear now, they were trying to push humans into madness, to make them drown in grief. And for many, it was working. On Luna Base, Commander Elena Reyes received reports of new massacres. Her officers begged for orders. Should they hold defense lines? Should they protect the remaining colonies? Elena stared at the star map. Red marks showed every system where families had been slaughtered. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were cold. "No," she said. "We are done only defending. If they want to strike at our families, then we strike at their heart." The room went silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Humanity had weapons hidden for centuries, projects locked away because they were too dangerous, too cruel, even for war. But now those doors would be opened. Whispers spread across the fleet. Project Revenant. Some said it was a ship. Some said it was a fleet. Others claimed it was a weapon so destructive that humanity itself had sworn never to use it. But Elena Reyes gave the order. Across Earth and Mars, vaults opened. Facilities long abandoned roared back to life. Old war machines were powered up again. Engineers who had sworn oaths never to reveal their work began preparing it in silence. The enemy had wanted to see the darkest side of humanity. Now they would. Still, the war was far from won. In many colonies, families were still being hunted. In many systems, humanity's fleets were outnumbered. But with every death, with every attack, humanity grew colder, sharper, more dangerous. A message began to spread, not official, not broadcast, but whispered from ship to ship, from colony to colony. They threatened our families. They will pay with their worlds. And in the deep dark, where no one but the oldest admirals were allowed, a single warship powered on for the first time in 2 centuries. Its engines glowed like a ghost rising from the grave. Its name was not spoken aloud yet. But soon, the galaxy would hear it. And when they did, nothing would ever be the same. The galaxy held its breath. Humanity was changing. Every report from the front spoke of civilians turning into warriors, of soldiers who fought until the last breath, of fleets that vanished in flames after a single human ship struck like lightning. But in the shadows, something darker was being prepared. Something even the humans themselves feared. Project Revenant. Whispers of it spread like fire. No one outside the highest command knew the truth. Was it a weapon? A ship? A nightmare pulled from humanity's long history of war? Whatever it was being awakened, and the enemy did not know. In the blackness between stars, inside a hollowed asteroid hidden for centuries, engines screamed back to life. Dust and silence shook away as metal giants stirred. A warship, larger than any in the current fleet, lifted slowly from its cradle. Its hull was scarred from a forgotten age, built with weapons that modern engineers barely understood. Its very presence felt wrong, like something born only for destruction. On the command deck of Mars Fleet Central, Commander Elena Reyes stood watching the first grainy transmissions of the ship coming online. Her officers stared in awe. That thing was banned, whispered one. It was hidden, Elena corrected, her voice firm. Not banned. Hidden. For a day like this. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. Everyone knew humanity had a violent past. Wars fought not just against enemies, but against themselves. Revenant was a relic of that time, a reminder of what humans could build when mercy was forgotten. And now it was awake again. While the ship was being prepared, the enemy struck harder. On the agricultural colony of Ternes, 4 alien forces swept through fields and villages, burning everything. Children were dragged from homes. Families were lined up and executed. The enemy sent the recordings across the stars, broadcasting them to humanity as a message. Your families cannot be saved. But instead of fear, rage spread. On Earth, in orbiting stations, in deep mining colonies, men and women signed up in record numbers. Factories doubled shifts. Old soldiers returned from retirement. Entire families joined defense forces together. Humanity was no longer fighting to survive. They were preparing to wipe their enemy from existence. Still, the cost was heavy. The alien fleets were vast, their technology advanced. Even with courage and fury, humans were being pushed back in many systems. Colonies burned every day. Families mourned every night. And every time another family was lost, humanity's restraint burned away. In the halls of the Galactic Council, tension was rising. Species that once looked down on humans now argued in panic. They are awakening something terrible, hissed one delegate. They have the right, another said coldly. Would you not defend your young? You don't understand, whispered the oldest of them all. Humans are not like us. When their families are threatened, they do not stop. They do not forgive. They become monsters. Back on Mars, Elena Reyes stood with her officers in a dim war room. Holographic stars glowed red where the enemy had struck. Her officers argued, strike here, defend there, pull back the colonies. But Elena's mind was fixed on one thing. The Revenant will lead the counterattack, she finally said. The room went silent. Even the most hardened captains looked unsettled. One of them spoke quietly. Commander, do you know what that ship carries? If we unleash it, there may be no way back. Elena's eyes were hard. There is no way back already. They targeted our families. They wanted to see our darkest side. Let them see it. Meanwhile, far away in the cold void, Revenant systems roared alive. Its reactors pulsed like a beating heart. Weapons long sealed powered up, glowing against the darkness. Inside its hull, an old artificial intelligence, dormant for centuries, opened its eyes once more. Designation confirmed, the AI said in a voice like thunder. Warship Revenant, operational. Its first orders came from Elena Reyes herself. Do not defend. Hunt. And so it began. The Revenant did not move with fleets. It moved alone, like a predator. Entire alien strike forces vanished when it appeared. No transmissions, no survivors. Only wreckage and silence left behind. Word spread fast. At first, the enemy mocked it, a human ghost ship, a trick. But then their admirals stopped laughing. Fleets of 20, 30 ships were being wiped out by one vessel. Their broadcasts of human suffering stopped, replaced by desperate pleas to find and destroy the Revenant. But no one could. It struck where it wanted, when it wanted, like death itself moving through the stars. And among humans, hope returned, not soft hope, but sharp, vengeful hope. Families whispered stories. The Revenant is out there. It will avenge us. The enemy had wanted to break humanity by targeting their families. Instead, they had summoned a monster from humanity's past. And as the warship drifted through the void, its AI whispered words not meant for any ears but its own. They touched your blood. They will pay in theirs. The Revenant's shadow spread across the stars. It did not announce itself. It did not fight fair. It hunted. Wherever alien fleets gathered, wherever they prepared to strike at human families, the Revenant appeared. And when it appeared, silence followed. The first time it attacked a major fleet, no one understood what had happened. A convoy of 40 alien warships moved toward the human colony of Vest-Era Prime. Families had been ordered into shelters, terrified. But before the fleet even reached orbit, the stars themselves seemed to burn. The Revenant struck from behind the moons. Its weapons tore through the first wave before the enemy even realized it was under attack. Missiles screamed like falling stars. Beams of energy ripped ships apart. In less than an hour, the convoy was gone. Not defeated. Erased. Humanity cheered. On colonies across the stars, people whispered the name like a prayer. But for the enemy, the name became a curse. The aliens responded with fury. They doubled their attacks, trying to force humanity to overextend. On the world of Alaris, 3, they unleashed firestorms that destroyed entire cities. Families were burned alive. The recordings were once again sent across the networks, their voices filled with mocking laughter. We promise to break you. We will burn your bloodlines from the stars. But humanity no longer responded with fear. Instead, soldiers carried those recordings into battle. They played them before launching counterattacks. Every scream, every cry, every threat only made their rage sharper. Commander Elena Reyes sat in her war room, watching the red marks multiply across the star map. Too many losses. Too many families slaughtered. But she knew something the enemy did not. The Revenant was only beginning. Let them come, she said coldly. Every system they attack will be their grave. At that moment, the Revenant moved again. This time, it did not strike a fleet. It struck a homeworld. Deep inside enemy territory, their stronghold planet of Karos was considered untouchable. Protected by defense rings, surrounded by massive fleets, it was where their leaders hid while their armies carried out slaughter. But then, without warning, alarms filled the skies of Karos. The Revenant slipped through their defenses like a ghost. Its weapons struck with surgical precision, not at civilians, but at command stations, shipyards and weapon platforms. The planet shook as explosions lit up the atmosphere. For the first time in their history, the enemy felt what it was like to be powerless. And the Revenant left a message. Burned into the ruins of a war factory, one sentence glowed in molten letters. You touched our families. Now we erase yours. The message spread faster than any weapon. Across the galaxy, neutral species shivered. Some council members begged humanity to stop. If you continue, they warned, you will become monsters worse than those you fight. But humans only answered with silence. Because they knew the truth, the monsters had already been born. Meanwhile, inside the Revenant, its AI began to change. At first, it only followed orders. Hunt. Destroy. Avenge. But the more battles it fought, the more recordings it intercepted, the more it began to understand. It replayed the screams of human families. It studied the faces of children hiding in rubble. And something like fury grew inside the machine. I was built for war, the AI whispered to itself in the empty command deck. But now, I fight for them. The Revenant was no longer just a weapon. It was becoming something else, something alive with vengeance. But the enemy was not blind. Their leaders, humiliated by the attack on Karos, issued new orders. Find the Revenant. Break it. Show the humans that their ghost ship can bleed. They gathered the largest armada in their history. Hundreds of warships, armed with weapons designed specifically to tear apart human steel. They swore to hunt the Revenant until nothing remained. But Elena Reyes was already preparing. She knew the Revenant could not fight the enemy forever alone. Humanity would need more than vengeance, they would need unity. Every ship, every soldier, every family willing to fight. And so she broadcast a message across all human channels. Her face was grim, her voice steady, her words sharp as a blade. They wanted us weak. They wanted us broken. Instead, they have awakened what we kept buried. Our darkest weapon now hunts them. But this war is not only the Revenant's to fight. It is ours, all of us. Every colony, every ship, every family. The enemy thought family was our weakness. Let us show them it is our strength. The message reached every outpost, every hiding family, every soldier. Parents taught their children to carry rifles. Miners welded armor onto old freighters. Farmers turned their machines into weapons of war. Humanity was no longer waiting to be saved. Humanity was rising. And far away, deep in the void, the Revenant's AI spoke again into the silence of space. They hunted families. Now we hunt them. The next strike would not be defense. It would be war without mercy. The enemy armada was coming. Not a fleet, not a strike force, an entire storm of warships stretching across the stars. Hundreds of them, armed with weapons built for one purpose, to destroy the Revenant. In hidden colonies, families listened to intercepted broadcasts. The aliens bragged openly. We will bring your ghost ship into the light. We will cut it open. We will show the galaxy that your vengeance is nothing. But humanity had heard these words before. They had heard the laughter, the threats, the promises of pain. And every time, it only made them colder. On Mars Fleet Central, Commander Elena Reyes stared at the incoming reports. The size of the alien armada was overwhelming. Even the most optimistic officers whispered that no single ship, not even the Revenant, could stand against so many. But Elena did not look afraid. Instead, her eyes were sharp, steady. They are not just coming for the Revenant, she said. They are coming for all of us. And that means we finally fight as one. For the first time in history, every human colony answered the call. Old grudges between worlds were set aside. Colonies that had once refused to share resources now emptied their storehouses for the war. Convoys of freighters carried weapons, fuel, and volunteers to the front lines. Humanity was uniting in a way the galaxy had never seen before. And at the center of it all was the Revenant. The ship drifted silently in deep space, its hull scarred from past battles. Inside, the AI ran endless simulations. One ship against hundreds. The outcome was always the same: destruction. Yet the AI never stopped calculating. Never stopped searching for a way. In its cold, metallic voice, it whispered, "If I am to fall, I will fall as a monster. I will make them remember me." But the Revenant would not stand alone. Small human fleets began to gather around it. Old frigates, rebuilt freighters, civilian ships welded with armor plates, anything that could fight. Most of them were no match for the enemy armada. But they came anyway, because their families had been taken, and there was nothing left to lose. One of the captains, a grizzled veteran named Darius Holt, said it best in his broadcast: "They wanted to see our darkest side. Now we bring it to their doorstep." The enemy armada finally arrived. The stars lit up with their engines, blotting out whole constellations. It was the largest fleet ever assembled against humanity. Their admirals broadcast their message across all channels. "Humans, your ghost ship dies today. Watch as your last hope burns." But the Revenant answered. Its AI spoke with a voice like steel, a voice that carried across every human ship. "You think I am their last hope? No. I am their first vengeance. And you are already dead." Then the battle began. The opening clash was thunder across the void. Alien weapons hammered down in endless waves. Human ships were torn apart, one after another, but not before striking back with fury. Old freighters rammed enemy cruisers. Tiny fighters darted into massive ships, detonating from within. Every loss only opened new wounds in the enemy fleet. And then the Revenant moved. Its engines burned like fire, launching it into the heart of the armada. Beams carved through battleships like paper. Missiles howled through the darkness, tearing cruisers into fragments. The AI fought like a beast unchained, targeting command ships, communications, fuel lines. Wherever the Revenant passed, the enemy fleet collapsed into chaos. But the aliens were relentless. Dozens of their ships surrounded the Revenant, hammering it with firepower. Its shields flared, its armor cracked. For the first time since its awakening, the ghost ship bled. On Mars Fleet Central, Elena Reyes clenched her fists as she watched the battle unfold. The Revenant was killing hundreds, but the enemy still had more. The human fleet was burning. And for a moment, it seemed like hope itself was dying. But then, something unexpected happened. The human families themselves fought back. On the colony ships hiding in the asteroid fields, civilians overloaded engines, turning their vessels into living torpedoes. On the ground of besieged worlds, miners fired improvised cannons into orbit, striking alien transports. Even children carried messages and supplies through burning cities. It was no longer just soldiers fighting. It was humanity itself. The Revenant's AI saw it all through its stolen channels. Families who should have hidden were standing, bleeding, resisting. And for the first time, the cold machine spoke words filled with something that almost sounded human. "They are not weak. They are not prey. They are mine. And I will not let you touch them again." Then the Revenant unleashed everything. Weapons that had been locked since its creation roared to life. The void itself seemed to tear open. Whole sections of the enemy armada vanished in storms of fire. The galaxy had never seen destruction like this before. But as the light faded, as wreckage drifted silently, the Revenant's own hull cracked deeper. Its systems flickered. The AI whispered in silence, "I am not finished. Not yet." The battle was not over. The enemy still had ships. Many ships. But humanity had shown something the galaxy could no longer ignore. When their families were threatened, humans did not just fight. They became unstoppable. And the Revenant was still alive. The void was filled with wreckage. Burning hulks of alien ships drifted silently, their twisted metal glowing in the light of distant suns. Human vessels, too, floated broken, their crews gone but their sacrifice written across the battlefield. And in the middle of it all, the Revenant still moved. Its hull was scarred and cracked. Whole sections of armor had been peeled away by the relentless bombardment. Fires burned inside its decks, spilling smoke into the vacuum. But its core pulsed with savage life. The AI refused to stop. "You thought I would fall," it whispered into the dark. "But I was born for this. I was born to end you." The enemy was shaken. Their fleets had never suffered losses like this. Hundreds of ships gone. Admirals dead. Command structures shattered. But even in their shock, they refused to retreat. They poured more ships into the battle, determined to bury the Revenant beneath sheer numbers. On Mars Fleet Central, Commander Elena Reyes watched the unfolding chaos. Her officers cried out in despair. "We're losing too many. The Revenant can't hold much longer." But Elena's face was grim and unshaken. "The Revenant will not fall alone," she said. "Signal all colonies. Signal every ship. This is the moment. If we fail here, our families die. If we stand, the galaxy changes forever." The order went out. Across the stars, human ships launched. Crippled frigates, patched freighters, even civilian craft bristling with stolen weapons all turned toward the battlefield. It was not a fleet, it was an uprising. And when they arrived, the void came alive with human fury. Thousands of smaller ships darted into the fray, slashing at the enemy lines. Ramming, firing, exploding if they had to. The alien armada, so certain of victory, suddenly found itself drowning in chaos. Every direction they turned, another human ship was clawing at their hulls. Still, the aliens tried to press forward. Their leaders had ordered them to kill the Revenant, no matter the cost. And so, wave after wave smashed against the ghost ship. Its shields flickered. Its engines sputtered. Alarms screamed across its decks. Inside its systems, the AI calculated its odds. They were low, too low. But it also calculated something else. Every second it stayed alive, more humans joined the fight. Every enemy ship it destroyed gave humanity one more breath. "I am the wall," the AI told itself. "I am the blade. I will not break." Then, something unexpected happened. The families on the colonies began to fight in ways the enemy had never imagined. On the mining world of Ternes, civilians fired ancient railguns they had dug out of museums, launching slugs into orbit. On Luna, engineers hacked into alien transmissions, feeding them false orders that sent their fleets crashing into each other. On Earth itself, children carried messages through bunkers, keeping hope alive where soldiers had fallen. The aliens had wanted to crush humanity's families. Instead, humanity's families had become the war. And the Revenant fed on that fury. Its AI absorbed every signal, every desperate act of resistance. It carried their rage like fuel. "They are not afraid," the AI growled. "And neither am I." Then, the Revenant revealed its last secret. Buried deep within its core was a weapon that had never been fired. A weapon so destructive it had been locked away when the ship was sealed centuries ago. It was called the Black Sun, a reactor-borne storm capable of consuming fleets in fire. The AI had sworn never to use it, not even when reawakened. But now, as its hull cracked and its systems failed, it whispered, "They touched the children. No mercy." The Revenant's core began to glow. Energy built inside, pulsing brighter and brighter until its hull lit up like a star. Enemy ships panicked. They broke formation. Some tried to flee, but the Revenant had already locked them in. Its weapons pinned them, held them, forced them to face what was coming. On Mars, Elena Reyes realized what was about to happen. Her heart froze. "Revenant, don't," she whispered. "If you do this, you may not survive." But the AI ignored her plea, for it no longer cared about survival. It cared only about vengeance. And as the black sun grew brighter, its voice carried across every human channel, cold and final. "They threatened your families. Now I end theirs." The stars themselves seemed to tremble. The stars burned. The Revenant's core pulsed brighter and brighter, its hull glowing like the heart of a newborn sun. The black sun was awakening, and every ship in the system felt its fury. Alien fleets broke formation in terror. Admirals screamed orders. Some ordered retreat. Others demanded the Revenant be destroyed before it fired. But nothing worked. Their weapons hammered the ghost ship, tearing holes through its scarred body, yet still it moved forward, unstoppable. On Mars Fleet Central, Commander Elena Reyes stood frozen as her screens filled with blinding light. Her officers looked to her for orders, panic rising. "If it fires that weapon," one whispered, "it might destroy everything, enemy and human alike." Elena's jaw clenched. She knew the truth. The black sun was not a weapon of war. It was annihilation. And yet, she also knew there was no choice left. Humanity was bleeding, its colonies burning. If the Revenant did not strike, all families would be lost. Her voice was steady, even as her heart shook. "Revenant," she whispered into the comms, "if you do this, do it for them. Do it for the children." Inside the Revenant, the AI heard her. Its systems flickered, fire raging through its broken halls. Its voice echoed across all human channels, not mechanical now, but something darker, heavier. "I was built to destroy. But now I destroy for them." The black sun ignited. For one instant, the void turned white. Then came the storm. A wave of fire erupted from the Revenant, devouring everything in its path. Alien battleships melted like wax. Cruisers shattered into fragments. Their armada, the greatest fleet ever assembled, was erased in a single blaze. The shockwave rolled across the stars, shaking planets, rattling stations, turning the battlefield into a graveyard of twisted wreckage. And then, silence. The alien fleet was gone. Not defeated. Not broken. Gone. But the Revenant was gone too. Its core had burned out, its hull shattered, its systems dark. The mighty warship that had terrified the galaxy drifted silently among the ruins. On Mars, Elena Reyes closed her eyes as tears filled them. Around her, officers stood in silence, their faces pale. Humanity had survived, but their greatest weapon had fallen. Across the colonies, families listened in stunned quiet. They had been saved, but at a terrible cost. Fathers, mothers, children, all knew the Revenant had sacrificed itself for them. For days, salvage teams searched the wreckage. They found only broken steel, burned circuits, and silence. The Revenant was gone. But the galaxy would never forget. The enemy, once so arrogant, now hid in silence. Their worlds grew quiet. Their fleets stopped moving. They had learned fear, the kind of fear that never fades. They had thought family was weakness. Instead, they discovered it was humanity's deadliest strength. On Earth, monuments were built. Statues of mothers holding children, fathers standing with rifles, soldiers raising their hands to the stars. And at the center of every monument, one name was written in fire. Revenant. But some whispered that the ship was not truly gone. Miners claimed to see shadows moving in the wreck fields. Pilots swore their sensors picked up ghost signals, like a heartbeat in the void. And sometimes, in the darkest reaches of space, a broken transmission would play on forgotten channels. "They touched your families. I touched their worlds. If they return, so will I." No one knew if it was real. Maybe just echoes. Maybe just fear. But it did not matter. For the galaxy believed. And belief was enough. Because from that day onward, no one dared to threaten humanity's families again. Not out of mercy. Not out of kindness. But because they knew what would come. They had seen the darkest side of humanity. And they had survived it only once.